9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Liftoff.
Liftoff. Liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Roger, Tower.
Okay.
Well,
Yes.
welcome to the Alien Pro Podcast. It's November 22nd, 2025. I'm Doug. This is Matt. Joining us today is Janet Fitzpatrick, author and experiencer. Hi, Janet.
Yes, that's right. Correct.
And you have a book, right? Let's
Yeah.
tell us about. Put that up there. You had a copy of your book. The cover, is that the cover of the book?
Yes.
It says Hall of Records.
Very nice. Now, is it all done? Is it finished?
It'll be finished before Christmas. It's nearly there. It's just got a few more days, really. Okay.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the book.
Shall I? Well, thank you very much for having me anyway.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to say that my name is Janet, although in the book it's author, so it's Jan Hann. I live in the UK, and the county I live in is Herefordshire. So you'd like me to tell you now about my living experience?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Start. Well, from the very beginning, the scenery took my breath away. This is Herefordshire. I felt privileged to live here. It was a patchwork of natural beauty, green hills and golden valleys, healing herbs, luscious fruits and berries, a land of milk and honey. It was here in this mythical landscape that my brush with immortality began. At this juncture in my life, I wanted to ask God what his plan is for humanity. After all, don't we all reach a moment when we ask, why are we here? I reflected on a time when the rain poured into my heart without pause. I thought of the homeless. I thought of the suffering and the anguish. And then I heard of a nuclear war. On this particular evening, Ian had the television on. A speaker was solemnly instructing viewers, take out the doors and prop them against the walls. This will help prevent them from falling on you. This was the advice that was given to us to prepare for a nuclear war. I asked Ian if it was some joke, and he just said no, very quietly. That night, I didn't sleep. In fact, it was for 3 nights that I stayed awake, gripped by fear, for my daughters, for all of us. I then saw an article about an underground shelter that was fully equipped with survival kits for 3 months, nearly £10,000, but no need to resurface for weeks. That was it. My answer is that we need to survive. I couldn't wait to tell Ian. He agreed. He said we have just enough money to build a shelter beneath the back garden. That night, I slept well, for the first half anyway, and then trouble came in and woke me up. What will happen when we resurface? How many others will still be alive? Will the world be habitable? Will it be polluted? And once again, I was in despair. I got angry. I had brought my daughters into this world under God's love and protection. It felt like my sacred duty to give them a safe, loving start in life. As a mother, I would do anything to keep them from harm, but I was stunned. Why wasn't God doing anything to prevent humanity from self-destruction. I wrestled with God for days and nights, asking, how can a loving, caring God allow this? Why, God, do you permit such things? Where are you in all of this? Little did I realize that this wrestling match was to be the beginning of an immense affair with God. And it lasted 3 years, although my family would say it has never truly ended. A few days later, it was Tuesday the 2nd, March 1982, at precisely 10:45 p.m. I was driving along a narrow country road in Herefordshire with my 2 young daughters in the back seat, supposedly asleep. As I drove down this lane, my eldest daughter started to talk to me. What comes after 20, Mummy? I was puzzled. Do you mean 20, sweetheart, or do you mean 19? She shook her head. It looks like this, she said, tracing an invisible shape in the air. I turned slightly to the left to see her gesture more clearly, and it was precisely at this curve that something utterly bizarre caught my eye. To the left of the curve is a stile leading into a vast field bordered by 2 bushes. To the right is the lane we were driving on, which stretches approximately 352 yards, 0.32 kilometers. At the end of the lane, a main road branches off, leading to the International Communications Satellite Station. Now, as I turned onto the lane, I spotted some weird lights hovering above the ground. They are clustered together in the front left corner of the field, suspended eerily in space. How do I know they were watching something on the main road, or perhaps far beyond towards the satellite station? I can't say, but the feeling was overwhelming. These lights weren't random. They were aware. Suddenly, the lights turned and sped towards us. It took them 3 to 5 seconds to cross the diagonal stretch of the field, roughly 440 yards. Even at 5 seconds, their velocity was around 180 miles an hour. These intelligent lights came across in a cluster, yet they were separate entities. The cluster was staggered, as if their speeds varied. Here they are alongside the hedge that separated us from the field. Spontaneously, as if they'd spoken with each other, they spread out into a long line without bumping into each other. Then a patter, raindrops tapped against the car's window. A mist rolled in with these lights, shrouding the lane in a hazy, dreamlike atmosphere. The lights, about 6 of them, were now traveling alongside us, just 3 to 4 meters between us, hovering 6 to 8 feet above the ground. Each entity was composed of 2 bright, circular, white lights, approximately the size of cars' headlamps, joined by a glowing, fuzzy stem resembling vapor or plasma. The stems pulsed and swayed. They weren't rigid, but alive with energy. They were there, and they were peering straight at us, inquisitive beings with big glowing eyes. And despite the shock, I couldn't feel any fear. Their presence was almost hypnotic, I sensed no menace, only gentle, intelligent curiosity. We rolled down the lane in a parallel line with my head turned towards them. When we reached the end, I turned left onto the main road. Moments later, a flash burst into the field center. Then another two explosions of light illuminated the entire field. And just like that, they were gone. I drove on, stunned with my daughters asleep in the back of the car. After settling the girls in bed, I drew a picture of them and rang the local police. Look, love, the officer said, we ain't got enough trouble with the natural, let alone the supernatural. Try the air base. They might be able to help you. The next day, Ian and I visited the airbase. However, we were informed that it had been out of service for a considerable time. The officer's response was, the police are always sending people here. Same story, time and time again. Wow. Yeah, I haven't been there just that once then. Some folks suggested tractors, ball lightning, and even swamp gas. None of it fit. Tractors don't hover. Ball lightning doesn't stop at hedgerows, disperse into lines, or flash and vanish. No, these curious lights were something else. Controlled, intelligent, and intentional. They engaged with me and then they left and I was changed. So I got down here, how many people of the viewers have seen UFOs? And if they could comment, put a yes or a no. And how many people believe in UFOs? If they could please put a yes or a no in the comments as well. Personally, aside from initial fright or shock, I have never heard of any account, this is me personally, haven't, in which UFOs harm humans, or perhaps maybe burn a bit, or sometimes kill humans, shoot them, stab them. Instead, they just seem to be curious, as far as I can see, and perhaps even inclined to advise or help, but that's only my interpretation. Many years ago, strange lights were produced by the Earth with flame-like forms that frequently appear on marshy grounds, known variously as will-o'-the-wisp, jack-o'-lantern, kitty candlestick, ignis fatuus, corpse candles, and by many other appellations. In folklore, they were interpreted as wandering sprites liable to lead travelers to their doom, as harbingers of death, and as widely believed to hover over fresh graves. A classic account of will-o'-the-wisp was given by a Berlin engineer in 1833. The first time, this is what he says, the first time I saw ignis fatuus was in a valley that was marshy at its lowest part. Bubbles of air were seen rising, and at night blue flames were observed shooting from and playing over its surface. The fire became visible but redder, and they also burned during the day. I was able to singe my paper. This report squares with the general but unproven assumption that this class of light form is burning marsh gas, predominantly methane, issuing from swampy ground, yet it contradicts most other will-o'-the-wisp accounts. These flames, which appear over boggy ground, are described as not producing heat. Alan A. Mills, a lecturer in planetary science, commented that explanations of the will-o'-the-wisp have been as numerous as they are unsatisfactory. Throughout human history and scattered throughout innumerable texts and lore from across the globe, there are traditions concerning the incorporeal powers and intelligence, the living beings that are bodiless and typically invisible, and possessing great power, intelligence, and tremendous focus, intention for good or for evil, which we commonly refer to as angels and demons. I think at that point, I will just show you before we go off. This was what I drew at first, at the time, when I saw them. It says the time as well. It was just like they were a cluster in the.
Lift that up so we can see it.
Yeah,
lift it up a little more.
Yeah.
So just a bit of it. So that was roughly the stuff that I wrote in a hurry. So that was, don't forget that I was in shock and everything. But there's lots of stuff on there.
We can barely see that.
You lift it up a little higher. Can you lift it up a little higher so we can see it? Like cover you, lift it straight up.
Yeah, go back a little bit though.
Yeah, move it back toward you.
Towards you,
so we can read the whole thing.
There you go.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Very nice. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that one. So throughout the human history, indeed, the Christian saint Dionysius the Areopagite wrote a treatise on angelology titled The Celestial Hierarchies, a 3x3 matrix of 9 types of angels as follows. The first rank is serapins, cherubims, and thrones. The second rank are dominions, powers, and authorities. And the third rank are called or known as principalities, archangels, and angels. John of Damascus, circa around 675 years to 749 AD, also wrote an exposition of the celestial hierarchy concerning angels. An angel is an intelligent essence in perpetual motion with free will, an incorporeal ministering to God, and he alone knows the form and limitation of its nature, for in reality only the deity is incorporeal and immaterial. That was by Joseph Farrell in 2023. So here's a picture of those. Yeah?
Lift it up a little more.
Do you think?
Yeah, lift it up a little more higher. Just lift it higher. There you go. There you go. Okay, I see. Very cool.
Do you think that my UFOs fit in there at all?
That's always been a question of whether they're demons or angels. I mean, that's even recently, even our government, even the U.S. government saying that's one of their explanations of what these things are. So yeah, possibly.
Well, they're going to get a shock if they watch this because they'll find something out there. We're on a roll. But the next bit, anyway, so this is like another 6 pages. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
you've had a personal experience with this, right?
Definitely. And this isn't the end. This is another part because something else happened after that. Well, a long thing. It went on for 3 years, as I say. It hasn't really gone away. They had actually got so close to me. This is mine, doing a bit of science instead of the spiritual and stuff like that. Look, face fact. And they got inside my and aura really, and there were 6 of them, and they were far bigger and greater power than me, and they interacted with my wavelength, if you like. And in fact, I think they're on our wavelengths really. There's a lot more really I've been doing for the last 40 years. So after my intense pleas for help with God, I had seen those lights, extraordinary beings. I had asked God and I think we're nearly there.
Right.
So this book is about her experience, correct?
Is this your experience?
Right. Okay. I just want to
Yeah.
make sure it wasn't
So
fiction.
this book is definitely about it. So here we go. Anyway, go on with here. After my intense pleas with help with God, I had asked God what he would do about all these dreadful things. And then I felt shame and guilt because I had questioned God. Here I was after, as though there was something more profound. My energy was completely drained and my confidence had slipped away. Yet a strange longing bloomed within me, and all I could think about was religion. I asked God, where do I go from here? Which religion is the route? And there I stood once again, alone with a pain in my heart. Something surely had gone wrong. I whispered in my heart, God, where are you in all of this? Which religion is the right one? If I'm meant to follow a path, please show me. I sent this appeal upwards for several days and nights. Where are you, God? On this particular morning, with my hands on my heart, I stood at the kitchen window with trembling sincerity. I held out my arms and I offered myself as a sacrifice to God. I prayed with urgency by knocking. You say we can knock and the door will be opened, I said aloud. Well, dearest God, I'm knocking. I cannot knock any louder. To whom do I go? To which church should I attend? Suddenly, a reply came. Instantaneously, a distinct male voice said, ask none of these, but follow me. Suddenly, I asked who, and startled and really frightened as well, who is there? Again, I heard the same voice replied, I am the Lord Jesus. Trust in me, and I will show you the way. I was terrified. Jesus had always been my very best friend since childhood, a relationship I'd hoped would last forever. But never before had he ever spoken to me. No inner voice had ever addressed me directly like this before. I was petrified, cautious, and afraid of being misled. My first instinct was to hold myself in a constant prayer, like breathing, and that seemed to ignite a turning point. I poured everything out I had into my prayer, looking up at the sky from the kitchen window with my arms wide open. I spoke aloud, dearest God, take me, take all of me, use me as you will. And all I ask for in return, dearest God, is to give me back just that little piece that knows that you are there. And if you will it, dearest God, I will offer it to others so that they too may share it, but only if you will it and not of my own accord. Perhaps it was the rawness with which I prayed, desperate and devoted. Immediately, spontaneously, something happened. It was as though I had touched a divine switch, because at once there came a loud swirl of repent in my ears. And at the same time, a pressure bore down on the top of my head. I was driven down until I lay flat on the floor. I had surrendered to this invisible force. I was stunned and completely overcome. There was an awareness of something else, something unseen, powerful, and so close. And I sobbed, begging forgiveness for everything I had ever done wrong. I don't know how long I stayed like that, face down on the floor, but then I felt a warm glow on my head. Sometime later, the holy, awesome other was not forcing me down anymore. Instead, I was magnetically being pulled up by the top of my head. I see this as a wavelength myself. Steadily, I looked out of the window and there was a beautiful, shimmering rainbow, and then another one repeated and appeared itself over the top. I will never forget it. I took them to be a promise from God, and I love him deeply. Afterwards, I stepped back, and then I stepped from the southeast facing kitchen window, took 3 steps towards the northeast facing dining room entrance, which was in there, and then something extremely frightening happened. As I turned towards the dining room, it was just as if I was being positioned in a proper position. It felt as though I had stepped into or had been moved into a different zone. A creepy sensation, eerie, like crackly, enveloped me. You know that feeling when the hairs on the back of your neck stand up? It was like that, but it was more. Something invisible had again invaded my personal space. This strange presence felt like an enormous, invisible magnet. It had waited silently for me to turn into that correct position, the direction, and the moment I did it, it pounced on the top of my head. It latched onto the top of my head and locked itself there. I couldn't move, and there was no way of escape. This presence was more real than reality itself. From deep within me, I protested. You got the wrong person, honestly. I'm a woman. I feel this is too big for me. I'm too puny, too weak. I'm not the right person for whatever I've asked for. But it wasn't listening to me. Well, not really. Something had been decided and a deal had been struck. Then in came the paralysis, a complete suspended animation, and then another pounce. And this time it was a clunk click. I could actually hear the noise, clunk click, like a metallic clamp. And as the years have gone through researching, I honestly believe that it was to do with I was being put on another wavelength. I felt I was wearing a heavy, tighter magnetic cap, a bit with just like a cap on the top. And my essence, my stuffing, was being pulled up out of me. I was being teased into 2 parts. An outside observer might say it was just as if a giant bird had pounced onto its prey, me, and then rose into flight, carrying it skyways. But this bird wasn't interested in my physical body. Oh no, it wasn't interested in that. It didn't want my outer shell. Oh no, it was separating me. It was separating my inner energy, pulling it upwards out of my physical body. And with that, a great rip came and an enormous roar and rush of winds through my ears. And then I knew part of me was moving upwards and out of me, and it was going with this huge bird. A significant part of me was flying with this invisible bird. It was one of the most frightening experiences of my life, because I could only sense this magnetic bird's presence clamped onto the top of my head, and it was far greater than I was. I prefer to call it the holy other. And this was just the beginning of a chain of events that was about to unfold. This, they call it duo embodiment, which is 2 parts, lasted approximately 2.5 years, culminating in the Great Pyramid of Giza, and initiated into the most ancient initiating ceremony that they don't even seem to know what it is, but it tells you, I did the trip. Why are we here? It answered my prayer. Where have we come from? And where will we go after here? And I found our Creator God. The Great Pyramid is our birthright and inheritance, and it's active today. So when they say it isn't in function, it is. You just need to know how to get there. In conclusion, according to research today, over 99% of the universe is composed of plasma. In contrast, our familiar physical matter, atomic or subatomic, is not the basis of life in its most fundamental form. And this under-recognized fact invites new speculation about the cosmic origins and the role of intelligence. And if I just go one step further to up to date, they have discovered 2 massive clouds, their size together being 9 times the size of planet Earth. They sit between the Earth and the Moon, and they are both made of all plasma. Is this where our aliens and angels are coming from?
That's incredible. That is an incredible story. That's awesome. So you did a lot of research in on the Egyptian.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about the research that you did with
Well,
that?
I will tell you, for what I was being prepared for, all the way flying with this half my energy doing this and the other body doing this, and it was like a quantum thing. I realized that the quantum Schrodinger cat. You open a box and you fix it. You open the box, it says the cat was just doing whatever, and then because you open the box in quantum,
It
you
changes.
actually, yes, you fix it. And what was happening was that my physical body was doing things, and it was telling the energy of mine that was off with this bird to move this way, that way, do this or that. And it was awesome, absolutely awesome. It's and Actually, all the way there was all these strange things happening to me. Having visions, various visions. So if you want me to come on another time to tell you some more of this, especially when the book's out. But I will say that I was being prepared to understand hieroglyphs. Um, um, I was doing things together with my husband. I was going places. I went to Dorset. We went to Dorset to see the Tutankhamun exhibition. I learned things in there, and it was these things in the physical that was preparing the energy body to do something else. And in the Great Pyramid, I didn't know it was the Great Pyramid. I've never been to the Great Pyramid in physical, but when we get there, it's like angels, really, if you like. I call them my friends because it was very painful. When I started off, it was like it was like a salmon, really. A salmon will go in upstream, to against that. And it was like, that's why I think that I was being put on another wavelength to be able to do this trip. And to get onto this other wavelength length with this bird, it was at the beginning, it was really painful. It was just like I could tell it was electromagnetic fields. It was, and everything, my hair would be standing on end. I could get radios that had batteries in them. I only had to put my hand over the top and they would come on. This is what made me think that it was the power coming from these UFOs that they got in my aura, and they had sort of like linked me together with them. Really, that's what I say. They linked me with, and then they took me off. But it's this clunk click actually, that is bizarre. It took me ages really to. I wrote it down. I was told to write it down and let it out. Write it down and let it out. And actually, this is exactly the right time for it to come out because it's the start of a new world, really. But I will say, going back to the Great Pyramid, for example, I didn't know it was that. I was just told when we slowed down. I knew we were slowing down. We were going to stop. And by then I'd got used to this thing on my head. I got used to the way I was. That when we go, I was told, don't look outside, but go inside. So in we go, and is like a fork, and you can turn off to the right or you go down. But I didn't know any of that, but I can see it. I can see it. This is a strange thing. My energy body, it was sensing. That's the best way of sensing and seeing, and I could sense that there was something there. And on this particular time, I, in physical, went and got a Bible that I didn't know that was up on the top there of this thing. Bookcase, and it fell off, and it opened at this place in the Bible where the lintel, where the Moses and Exodus and stuff like that. And I read it, and as I was told to read it, and as I read it, it was to do, what you had to do was in the Bible, it was saying they had to kill a lamb, and they had to daub the paint on the thing, have the dress ready for going somewhere. And as I'm reading that out, I was actually positioning my mental, spiritual, mental body, energy body, was positioning it to turn to the right and nowhere else. And that was how this thing fix it, say open the box and you fix it. So that was happening, and so it made me to go up the ascending one. Things like that were happening all the time. It was bizarre. And I learned many things that is in my book, that why we're here, where we've come from, that is very important, and where we go from, lots of other things. And so I've also found the Hall of Records, because what happened was that I didn't even know about any of these things. In fact, the only thing I was so busy with my family and everything, I wasn't really interested in the Great Pyramid and stuff like that. I had actually seen the Great Pyramid on television when I was very little. My dad was looking at this film thing, and it was on there. I had the pharaoh had died and passed away or whatever, and all the slaves and things and servants were going in the Great Pyramid, and then they started all this pulling out blocks, and they were, sanding it, blocking it up, and they were all sat there waiting to die, and the reason was that they were going to look after him in the aftermath, because in the after death, because because he would need them, and that was it. But I was so frightened, I couldn't understand, a terrible thing. Is this true? No, he said, no. My mum and dad said, no, it's just a film, that's all. I did go to London at the age of 19 to 21, and I lived there and worked there. And I was lived across the road from the British Museum, and I used to go in there every Sunday. And the room that I used to like best of all in the British Museum, I used to go. This is before, I'm between 19 and 21 at this, and that's been much before this happened. And I always went to the Egyptian gallery, always. And the thing that used to take me, and there was always somebody in there, like a guide, if you like, or whatever, a keeper, and and they would say, coming up again then, and I used to go up every Sunday afternoon. And all I wanted to do was look at the mummies, really. It was the mummies that got me. And how could that get to life again after that, And it was things like that. But I will tell you that the Great Pyramid is our birthright, that the Great Pyramid is our inheritance. And this is what my book is really about, is that without it, we will not understand why we're here. But with it, it's our inheritance, it's our birthright. I do watch the program which says long lost family, and she always says on there at the beginning, she says it's our birthright to know where we come from. She says on there, it's against the law if they don't allow you to know. It's legal that you can know an inheritance. So I thought to myself, that's true. Why aren't we getting to know the real truth about the Great Pyramid? Why is it being saying it's closed off and all the rest? It's active today, I can tell you that.
Question: Hall of Records? Are you meaning an actual Hall of Records, or are you talking about the Akashic records?
Talking about the trip that I did was the initiation ceremony that they used to have in there right at the beginning. They did say that it was just pharaohs that used to do it, but I can tell you that's not true. It is for everybody. That Great Pyramid there stands there as a monument, and as I was told, it is, and it always will be an active today. It's there to learn and understand, and lots of things, and to understand these things. And that's why I was told to write it down and let it out. Write it down and let it out. And because everybody then has a right to know these things, because what happened to me can happen to everybody. It's up to you, if you want to do these things. It becomes a blueprint inside you.
Janet, how old do you think the pyramids?
Pardon?
How old are the pyramids? Do you think? How?
Oh, very. I think personally they've been there for thousands of years. I think Edgar Cayce. Have you heard of Edgar Cayce?
Yeah, Edgar Cayce.
Is it Casey or Cayce?
Whatever. But I've normally heard of Edgar Cayce, the medium, right?
Yeah. He's a speaking prophet, isn't he? Yeah. He's a speaking prophet. He was the one that talked about the Hall of Records.
Right.
And he was very much one to do with the Atlanteans, the Atlantis. That was him. And he said that, I don't know how many thousands before they were destroyed, but he believed that it was them that is the one that constructed it.
So
So
the
that was.
so the pyramids, do you think they were actually built by the Egyptians, or are they much older than that?
I don't. I think it's they say it's Thoth. Thoth is the builder. You know, heard of Thoth? Thoth. There's Horus. There's Isis. I got to learn going towards the Great Pyramid the how to encode the hieroglyphs. What they're really talking about? They're really talking about living elements. That's what it is, and that's how the hieroglyphs are. They don't talk in words, but they actually they change their shape. They're shapeshifters, and they tell you things by the shapes, patterns, and but I had to learn that going get towards before I got to the Great Pyramid to understand this. But what was the question that you asked me in the first place?
Well, how old? I mean, did the Egyptians actually build
I
the
think
pyramids, or are
well,
they much older than
Casey
that?
thinks that it was built
oh, around
10,500 BC.
how many? Sorry,
10,500 BC is what
10.
Casey
And
thinks.
Yes,
when
that's
were
what
the
he said.
Egyptians around?
Yeah,
Were they?
Yes,
Is that the Egyptian era?
before. Way
Okay,
before.
definitely.
prior.
Atlanteans, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what he says. And I think he flew, I'm not sure, but I think I remember somewhere maybe he flew to the Great Pyramid as well.
Right.
But, um, there's,
Have you heard the now? Have you heard the latest stories about
The
the
tubes under it.
pyramids, about the power
no,
sources that are underneath,
Yeah.
deep underneath the earth, like
yes,
kilometers underneath that are from that era, that time? You know, but I
yeah,
don't know why they haven't dug them up, but have you heard that story?
yes. And there actually is supposed to be a place called Amenti underneath, which is the Osiris, which is the one that came down and crashed, and that's the one that created life on this planet. But it crashed, and that is our defect, really. And that was another thing I was told through the defect of the system. It crashed, and then um, from where, to create life on this planet. And as it came down, they say it's even in the myths and legends, and even myths and legends, so they're all to do with elements that are intelligence, really. And but these things, they lost it. So these things, elements, and the mentee, Osiris, he's the one that came down, and he exploded, and it's in their myths all over the place in ancient history, cultures, and explodes, and then it says that their Osiris, his face came out shining white, so that tells you it's electromagnetic fields, and the whole sky was red with fire and all the rest of it. But apparently something happened in there, and everything got scattered all over the place. Well, they say all over Egypt, but I think that they mean the whole planet, really. And this is a point, and I will just say this, and that he split into lots of bits, and it's a lot to do with Seth, isn't it? That Seth, who wanted to destroy Osiris and their brothers, and he turned him into all bits. Anyway, he exploded them all into bits. They've got two different stories about it, and the thing is that those bits are bits of life. And have you ever seen or heard that people talk about UFOs that are in the forest, like the Rendlesham
Yeah.
caves, where they see these white lights, going in the forest, and they look like fish, actually, swimming through. They will do like that, swimming through. I I maintain that those are the bits of life that can never be destroyed, never void, like our soul. Those are the bits that you see, probably UFOs,
Right.
same thing, it's them. Yeah, because they probably came or created at the same time as they exploded to create. They probably came with it, to see how it works, and keep an eye on us. I think they tend to be more respected to me is that they are here really to keep an eye on us all the time.
Oh, that's
I don't.
interesting. That's an interesting theory. Yeah. So,
Yes.
um, so that's your experience integrated into the book, right? That's what we're talking about. You've
Over the last 3 years, I
uh,
think. Right?
okay, good.
Is that
Yeah.
a good one? Do you want me to show you the picture again?
Yeah, show us
Yes.
the picture again, so everybody knows what they're looking for when they.
Will
look
this
for the
be out
book.
on Amazon when it's out? What, in December?
Yes, it'll be on Amazon.
Perfect.
It'll be on Amazon before Christmas.
Okay.
And that's it there. Birthright inheritance.
Okay.
Remember that. Very important.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
perfect.
the most important. It's the most important monument on the planet
That's right.
for us. Yes.
Okay, Janet, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you very much
Yes.
for
Thank
coming
you so
on.
much.
Um,
Thank you very much for having me. Thank
well,
you.
it was our pleasure. Thank you, and welcome to the. Or excuse me.
You want to go though?
Yeah, Steve. Thanks for listening to the Alien Pro
Oh, yeah,
podcast.
Yeah.
This is Janet Fitzpatrick. We appreciate you coming on. And no, that's a great way. And we'll after the book is out, we're going to go ahead and have you back on, and you can continue to discuss.
Yes.
Okay.
That's lovely. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Janet.
Thank you.
Have a good day. All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.